All right, so in this part, we're gonna go through 4 words that are really useful and also pretty easy to understand. The first one is na, and it means that. Angry tone, na. Na. The second one is zhe, also angry tone, zhe, and it means this and that, zhe, na. The next one, our first singing tone word is yi, and it means 1, the number 1. Why is this one of the most useful words? Well, because of our next word, which is the only one that's more of a concept than a word. Chinese has a thing called a measure word. Now, it's kind of like how in English you might say a piece of paper or a bar of chocolate. Chinese has one of these words for every type of noun. So for example, like flat things, long skinny things, people, small animals, units of time, etc. They'll all have their own measure word. And there is a cheat to get around this. Don't take this like I'm trying to tell you this is a rule of Chinese. Instead, you should take this like a cheat until you know more words. And this cheat, if you were to ask anyone, is this correct? They'll tell you no. But it's kind of like in English, you know how very often people will say things that are not correct, but we kind of gloss over it because it doesn't sound incorrect. This is one of those cheats. Now, the most common measure word is ge, also angry tone, but it also kind of becomes bored tone just because of the way people talk. Sorry about the construction, still going on. I really apologize for that construction sound. There is nothing I can do about it. It's going on constantly, and they've been doing it for as long as I've lived here, so who knows when that's going to end. Here's where the cheat comes in. What you can do in Chinese is just use ge for everything. Think of it like the word thing. If I was to say to you, hey, can you grab me a thing of corn? No one would be like, you mean an ear of corn? Or if I said, like some guy's eating a chocolate bar, and he's like, oh, this bar of chocolate, oh, it's the best bar of chocolate I've ever eaten. Oh my God, oh, it's so good. And I'm like, man, I want to get a thing of chocolate. That sounds so good. No one would be like, bar of chocolate? What's wrong with you, dude? No one's going to correct you because it just sounds normal, a thing of chocolate, a thing of corn. However, if I said, all right, I'm putting corn on the grill for dinner, how many things of corn does everyone want? Everyone would be like, how many things of corn? This guy's weird. Who says things of corn? It all depends on how you say it. So you can get away with it in almost any situation using the wrong measure word. The word ge is the catch-all of measure words. In any situation where there's a new word that's not something that fits into a category that's already well established, like when the internet is invented. I mean, I guess you're not going to have a number of internets. That'd be weird, but you get the idea. A new technology or like a new item that doesn't fit into an already established category, people will use the word ge. And so it's just become so common to hear with varieties of types of words that it just fits the way that thing does. Keep that in mind. You can use ge if you don't know the measure word. Just do it with confidence. If you do it with like, oh crap, I don't know the right word, ge, people are obviously going to notice. So since Chinese has no articles, this is why measure words are so important. So if I wanted to say I have a thing, I have a something, I would say I have yi ge something. Yi ge person, yi ge bowling alley, yi ge pair of headphones, I don't know. So in Chinese, that one would be na yi ge. This one would be zhe yi ge. However, it's so commonly said that you can take off the one because it's assumed and just say na ge or zhe ge. So now we've got the infamous radium situation. Racism situation. Autocorrect again. You can also combine the word na and e and get nay. So people will often say neg. Also, the word is an English word. It's not a sound. It's an actual word, like it's in the dictionary, I think. It's a word, and people take that for granted. So Chinese people don't say They have their own word, and that word happens to be that one. So if you're in a situation in which somebody says like, I was at home and I was looking for a thing. Yeah. You know, there's a USC professor who explained this concept to his class. A linguistics professor at USC explained it to his class and got suspended for it. They just removed him because he's too racist. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. How do you... Am I gonna get removed from YouTube because I'm being too racist right now? Good thing I'm in China. Side note, the tone on the word E is singing tone, like I said. But it's another one of those, it kind of morphs depending on who's saying it and depending on your accent and depending on the situation. So just saying 一个 can be kind of deliberate sounding. So you can just say 一个. Some people will just be like 一个 something. And so it becomes kind of, oops, I always do that wrong, becomes kind of second tone-ish or question tone-ish, but just remember that the correct tone for the number 1 is singing tone. E. So another thing about Chinese is you have to get used to the idea that the grammar doesn't work the same way and sentences are a lot more basic. So saying something like this one as a sentence does not sound blunt and rude the way it does in English. So because of this, it is quite acceptable to just point to a menu and go, 这个. People will realize like, oh, he doesn't speak a lot of Chinese, but he also doesn't sound rude while doing it. Or if you're, let's say you walk into that McDonald's, you can go, 那个. And people will be like, oh, which one? Okay, yeah, that one. If I walked into a McDonald's in the US and I was like, that one, people would be like, okay. Like, even if they can tell that your English is not very good, it will still sound rude. Not the case in Chinese. Unless, of course, you were intentionally trying to sound rude. Naga! So you have to get used to the idea that the way that you say things, what's considered rude, what's considered polite, is not going to be the same. It's not just about the words, it's the connotation that changes too. So you really have to be careful and know the connotation of your words. But this also can really help you because using such basic words, you can say quite a lot of things and not sound rude. The word please is not really used in Chinese, so I don't have to say, may I please have this one? In order to sound polite. I can just say, I want this one, and people are like, as long as you say it in like a, 我要这个, 我要那个. It sounds appropriate. So, your test for the day. You walk into a bakery, and there's a woman behind the counter, and you go, 那个, and she goes, 这个, and you go, 不是那个, 这个, and she goes, 这个, and you go, and she's like, all right, cool. Your first conversation.
I just got to give you that extra time so that you can, do all the things. That's probably enough time.